where, you do have some issues with regard to decisions that are made in that regard. That said, ultimately, it's all about making the best decision. And if football can be played in all the neighboring states and in other parts of the country, and it can be done safely, then shouldn't that opportunity be allowed here if the parties are in, the parties being the coaches, the student athletes, the administrations, the schools themselves, the principals, and ultimately school boards as well. And if you don't want to participate, then don't. 260-1061. We'll talk with Kyle Walker a little bit later in the show about that, the head coach of the Riverdale High School Rebels. Right now, we're going to shift our attention to happenings of today. Jamar Chase opting out of LSU to get ready for the NFL draft. And then later in the day, Tyler Shelvin of LSU choosing to do the same. Gentlemen that certainly can talk about that and where these guys rank and did they make good decisions is joining us now. He is, of course, of Draft Day Report and CrescentCitySports.com. It's a pleasure to welcome Al Dupuy to the show. Al, is always a pleasure. Welcome. How are you?
Fine, Ken. Pleasure to be with you as well.
Well, listen, Al. Okay, let's go right to it.
Yeah.
Jamar Chase, first and foremost.
Yeah.
Good decision, bad decision, and where does he rank in your mind in the NFL draft?
Well, yeah, I think for Jamar Chase and several other players that are opting out that are first-round projected selections, it's probably a good decision because they're taking a chance if they play with the virus and if they get injured and whatnot. And I think they're using the virus as a reason to sit out and not get injured and give up a bunch of money. But Jamar Chase is a top 5, top 6. I don't think he'll get past the 6th pick, and it's earlier to project that because you don't know the teams, how they're going to fall there. But I think he's a top 5, and some saying top 10, but I don't see him getting past number 6. And so in his case, Ken, it's probably a good decision. Greg Russo from Miami is a redshirt sophomore who is probably a defensive end. Is a defensive end and probably the best edge rusher in the draft, and he's going to opt out. And he's also a pretty high round 1 selection. So for these kind of guys, Michelle Parsons, a linebacker from Penn State who's a junior, is opting out. He's a first-round guy. Rashad Batman, a wide receiver from Minnesota, is another first-round selection. So these guys opting out makes some sense. Tyler Shelvin, I don't think is a first-round projection. He's a big defensive tackle. He's a real run stuffer in the middle, but he's weighing right now about 360 pounds. So I think he is going to have to watch his weight, lose some weight. If he's going to be a real good defensive tackle in the NFL, I don't think he'll be able to penetrate and rush the passer at that kind of weight. He would strictly be a run stuffer in the middle. So I think he's going to project as a second-day pick, bottom 2nd, top 3rd, maybe a bottom 2nd round pick, which isn't bad. But if he can lose some weight and get a little quicker, he could move up in the draft. But I don't know. I think he would have done well to try to play another year. He's a junior as well. So in his decision, it's kind of borderline, Ken.
Yeah, I've seen some projections that have him in the first round. In fact, ESPN has him 23rd overall. So I've seen him anywhere from late first round to beginning of the 3rd round. He's in that vicinity, so I don't think you're off at all. Right. But I think it's all about the perception of him and whether or not he does get his weight under control, because I think the feeling about him is he's a heck of a player. He's talented, but can he get to that playing weight? And if he can, by working out without playing, then maybe he does improve his status in the draft.
Yeah, if he does that, there's an outside chance that he could go bottom of the 1st. But right now I'm looking at him as probably a 2nd-round guy. because of the weight mainly. It's different in the NFL because you have players that they're all fast, they're all quick, and they're all big. And you don't have that as much at the college level. So you can get by being a tough run stuffer, which he is. I mean, he's a force in the middle. I would say right now I would have him as maybe a top 50 player in the next draft, which would be in the middle of round 2. But that could change, like you said, if he has a really good, he took off to prepare for the draft. So maybe he realizes he's got to get with it, get in the weight room, do some running, lose some weight, and if he does that, he could move up into round 1.
Back to Jamar Chase for a moment. You have him top 5 in your rankings at this point?
Top 5, six pick at the lowest, I think. He's the best receiver in college football. I mean, the top-rated receiver in this draft, and I don't think he gets past at least 6th pick in this draft. You have some quarterbacks that are going to go. I think Trevor Lawrence, of course, will be the first pick in the draft. That Russo, who I mentioned earlier, the defensive end, is going to be a top 5 pick. You have an offensive tackle from Stanford, a junior, Walker Little, who's probably a top 5 pick. So it may slide him down a little bit. Then you have the quarterback, Justin Fields from Ohio State, who probably is also a top 5 pick. So if you put all of them in the mix, he's a top 5 talent, but he may end up at 6 or 7 at the lowest.
Boy, that's amazing when you say that, because how many of those top 5 or 6 guys are actually going to play college football this year? The Pac-10's not playing in the fall, so you got to believe that those guys might opt out because of playing in the spring. You've got Chase opting out, obviously, already. Yeah. You've got Justin Fields, Ohio State, same situation with his conference. Now they're discussing possibly playing earlier, but wouldn't that be amazing is to have virtually all your top 5 or 6 picks that didn't even play college football in their last season?
It's really messed up, Ken. I mean, it's going to be extremely hard to evaluate the draft this year. I don't evaluate the draft by looking at what's on the internet. I want to see players play. There's an outside chance that they won't have a Senior Bowl this year, which I do a lot of work at the Senior Bowl evaluating players, and it's not a given that they're going to have a Senior Bowl. I hope they do, and that's usually after the first of the year, so maybe the virus will calm down by then, but you don't have any guarantee of that. So it's going to be extremely tough. I don't even know if I'm going to do the draft book this year or not. I'm going to, of course, be a draft analyst for Crescent City Sports and do writing for them, but it's up in the air as to how you evaluate players by past seasons or if you can't see them play. So we'll see what happens, but everything's really up in the air. I heard you talking about high school football, college football. The advantage the NFL has is I think they have more money for more frequent testing, which I think would help them a lot if they'll be testing players more frequently. But I don't know if especially all of the colleges have the money to do that. They're going to test them, but I don't know if they can do it as frequently. So, but there'll be college football, I feel certain. But let's see what happens with this virus and all of the other stuff that's going on in this country with the violence and everything else. So I just hope that we have a football season with college and pro and, of course, high school as well.
Al Dupuy with us for the next 5 minutes or so, talking about the NFL draft. Jamar Chase and Tyler Shelvin both deciding to opt out of LSU season to get ready for the NFL draft today. And that was obviously huge news today. Also big news, the fact that it's now been revealed that Alvin Kamara missing from practice the last several days has nothing to do with an injury. It's all about his contract. I guess we shouldn't be surprised, Al, the fact that he didn't do it initially and said that, no, it's not going to be a distraction, and he reported and he practiced. Then all of a sudden that changed. I wonder what changed, first of all. And secondly, given the financial restrictions of an NFL team, do you think Kamara will get that mega deal like Michael Thomas got or like Christian McCaffrey got?
Well, he won't get what Christian McCaffrey got. That's a given. He's not Christian McCaffrey. I mean, he's a good player, but Christian McCaffrey's in a class by himself. Not only because he's just a running back. I mean, he's a do-it-all player. And to get the money he got, I don't think any other running back. It's a down time right now for salaries of NFL running backs. And I think he'll get a good salary, a good chunk of money, but it won't be in the $16 million range that Christian McCaffrey got. I mean, here's the thing. Christian McCaffrey was in on 90% of the snaps for his team last year. I think Kamara, of course, he had some injury problems, was in on maybe 40%. So you have to look at that as well. Now, he'll be in on more if he's totally healthy, and he's a good player. I'm not downgrading him. And he's going to get a good chunk of money, but I don't think he'll get in the range anywhere close to what McCaffrey's getting.
Interestingly enough, prior to last season, many people would have put Kamara ahead of McCaffrey. Last year was different. McCaffrey had a special season, and Kamara, to his credit, played hurt throughout the season. Wasn't quite as effective, but was good. And the fact is you can't pay everybody, and you've got Lattimore coming up. You've got Ramczyk coming up. You got Rankins coming up. You got to make decisions about who you're going to spend that money on because you can't spend money on everybody. Some were surprised that they spent the money on Andrus Peat, and then, of course, he got hurt with his thumb, but he was back at practice today, so I guess there's that. Now there's more of a chance that he'll be able to play in the season opener against Tampa Bay.
I think the reason they want to keep that line intact because, there's something to playing together on the offensive line. And I think they want to try it. They do have a really good offensive line if they can all stay together and stay healthy. But the thing with Kamara, they like that type of player, and that's the type of running back that teams are looking for this year in the NFL as opposed to the just straight-ahead bruiser-type runner. They want a player that is a good runner but also can catch the ball out of the backfield and do other things, which Kamara can do. But the main thing about McCaffrey getting so much money, way ahead of any other running back, is the fact that I just mentioned. He's almost their whole offense. I mean, he's in on every play almost. And if you watched him in the Saints game, I mean, I was sitting there saying they're gonna kill this guy. I mean, every other play he was touching the football. So that's the big thing there, and they had to get him back and had to give him a bunch of money. I think far and above what any other running back in the league is probably going to get. But I would think that Kamara is going to demand and get really, because he's a good bit of money because he's grossly underpaid at this present time.
No question. The other big news today, former St. Augustine and LSU star Leonard Fournette being released by the Jacksonville Jaguars. He has cleared waivers, so now he can make a deal, and somebody can go out and get him. People immediately clamored for the Saints. I don't think that's going to happen based upon who they have already and their philosophy. You never say never to anything. First of all, were you surprised that he was released? Secondly, how do you view him as a player? Third, where would he be a good fit?
Well, I think I'm a little surprised, but I can see the Jaguars are trying to rebuild somewhat, and they're releasing players. And Fournette has really not, I guess, lived up to his being the fourth pick in the draft in 2017. He's had good seasons. He has some good stats, but he's had some questionable problems with fighting with other players and things like that. And his other problem, I think he's had chronic ankle problems, even at LSU. and it kind of followed him into the NFL, where he's missed time with ankle problems, and that's may not be a serious thing all the time, but he's going to miss some time with it, and all of that contributes to the fact that he's also hasn't been used in the passing game much. I'm not saying he can't catch the football, but he hasn't been used in the passing game. He's been used as a bruising inside runner, and he is that. I mean, he'll run over people, and he can make some good inside yardage, and has a juke and can get outside at times. So he's a good back, and he'll end up somewhere where I really don't know. It's hard to say. It's pretty late for this to happen. He's got about a week or so, because I think by Saturday the teams have to be down to 53 players. So that's going to be extremely difficult, even for the Saints. But they have a lot of talent on this team. But the one good thing is they've increased the practice squad. So I think some players that will get cut will end up on the practice squad. I think you can have 16 now, which is quite a bit. So besides the 53, and then there's some other rules where you can bring them off pretty much at any time. And all of this is, of course, Ken, because of the virus thing, that you have to have additional players, because if some of the players at the same position come down with this virus, it's going to be hard to play football game. So you have to have the additional players that you can bring in. And all of that is going to contribute to who the Saints cut and who they keep on this final roster. But as far as the running backs and Fournette, I don't think the Saints would really be interested. Latavius Murray is a similar type back. He's big, he's fast, and he's a good inside runner. Dwayne Washington as well has shown some flashes, and he's kind of the same type back. And then as far as Kamara goes, they also have Ty Montgomery. So if Kamara really does hold out for any length of time, I think you'll see Montgomery get a lot of snaps, because he's a similar back to Kamara, where he catches the ball out of the backfield and that third down type back.
He is Al Dupuy, Draft Day Report, and CrescentCitySports.com. Al, we appreciate the time tonight. Thanks for the analysis, and we'll talk again soon.
Thank you, Ken.